Okay, in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to draw a soil profile diagram for a brown earth soil, which appears in the higher geography curriculum. And there's two types of questions that relate to the brown earth soil. I'm going to actually show you how to answer both of these questions. Okay. Now, the most common question is where you are asked to draw a brown earth soil profile to show the main characteristics of this soil. There's another question which actually asks you to explain the conditions and processes that result in the formation of a soil profile. Now, that question doesn't actually always require you to draw a diagram. As a matter of fact, it probably won't. You can just write an answer. However, I'm going to show you how to, the diagram that you would draw that you could answer the first one, and then the additional information that you would look to add if you were going ahead and explaining it. Now, before we get into either of those, let's actually think about what do I need to draw in an exam. And the first thing I would draw is get out a ruler in the exam and draw a rectangle like I'm drawing right here on your screen. Make the bottom uneven because this is our sea horizon, and divide it into three, but don't divide it evenly. You want to make sure that in this soil, because it's a brown earth, that our A horizon is much bigger than the others. And then you want to make sure you label each of those soils A, B, and C. And you'll see that my A horizon is much deeper than my B. We also want to add a small little O horizon up at the top, which is our humus layer. Now, in our diagram, we want to add a tree, which is going to represent our main vegetation layer. We could show that it is a deciduous tree with the little top to it if we wish, but that's actually no marks for diagram drawing here. What's key, though, is that our root system in our diagram comes down really deep, all of the way down to the sea layer, because the roots of the trees, of deciduous trees, oaks and alders and elms and trees like that, actually do go down very deep and are very important in understanding how this soil is built up. Okay, so there is a good starter's diagram that you want to add. Next thing you want to do is, I don't suggest you have colors in the exam, so you're going to want to outline that the A horizon has a dark brown color. Now, don't add the second bit here due to rich humus content. I'll talk more about that in a second. You'd want to contrast this with the B horizon, which has a lighter brown color. Okay? Right, what other information do you look to add to your diagram if you are simply drawing it to describe the main characteristics? Well, I need to know the vegetation layer is deciduous vegetation, okay? I need to know that the texture of my A horizon is a loamy texture. I'd like to know that my O horizon and my A is mildly acidic, known as a mull humus. So there's a keyword that you look to be revising, mull humus. Additional mark, if you can tell me actually that its acidity level is 5.8, okay? And it forms on the surface. We don't need any of that because that's going to come later. We have an iron pan. We might choose to say that it's iron and aluminium particles deposited. Okay, we can say that for additional mark. And most importantly, we have a weathered parent rock like limestone or schist. Once again, I'm not giving the full sentence there because I'm only looking to describe the main characteristics. We have a balance between precipitation and evaporation. We have deep roots. We have biological weathering happening because of those deep roots. We have a thing called capillary action happening within our soil because water's getting drawn up. We have a mild climate. We have lots of biota. That example of that would be worms. We have indistinct horizons because our soil is well mixed with indistinct horizons. That would be a kind of key idea. And we have a deep soil up to 1 meter in depth. Right, now why did I avoid the second part? Because the first question will ask you to, using a diagram, describe the main characteristics of a brown earth soil. The second part of the question might be, so why do these characteristics result in this? So why is it a dark brown? Because it's rich in humus content, okay? And actually that links to the fact up here, you can see I'm underlining it, we have a constant supply of leaf litter, so we end up with a rich soil. And that's why we have this nice dark brown, rich A horizon. We have a slightly lighter brown B horizon, and that's because some of the humus is getting washed through the soil That's a process we call leaching, when minerals and nutrients in the soil get washed downwards by rainwater. Right, why when we rub this soil in our fingers does it have a loamy texture? Well, that's because of the amount of sand particles in our brown earth. So that would be an explanation. Why do we have a mildly acidic mull humus? Well, that's because of the decomposing leaf litter. And that leaf litter is up here that's decomposing. Why do we have an iron pan? Well, because the iron and the aluminium particles are dissolved in the water and they get then deposited at this point between A and the B. Now, we don't have very much of an iron pan. We may have an iron pan. It's not found in all brown earth soils, but it may be there. So you're going to get credit if you pick up on that point. So what's this balance in precipitation evaporation? Well, that balance results that in terms of what gets leached down also then gets drawn up. So there's a movement of materials going down through our soil from the surface down to the sea horizon, as well as minerals and nutrients getting drawn up from the sea back up to the A. That's a continual process that goes on. Right, the deep roots, well, they go all the way down to the sea, so they help further weather the parent material. So they're helping breaking up those rocks in the sea horizon. The roots are, as they gradually grow and expand, they break up the rock, and that's known as biological weathering. So you get some credit for bringing that key idea in. So what's the role of the mild climate? Well, mild climates allow things like worms to thrive, okay, because they can survive in warmer climates. And that means that they're moving through the soil continually up and down through the horizons. So our soil is going to be well mixed. Because it's mixed, it's going to be quite indistinct. However, because worms and other creatures make lots of tunnels through the soil as they move, the soil is going to be really well aerated. That's an idea that oxygenated. So lots of oxygen in this soil. And our soil is really deep, up to 1 meter, but that's because we've got a warm climate. We're in a warm part of the world, and therefore there's continual plant growth, which ensures we have a nice deep soil. Okay, so there was 2 stages to today's video. The first part was how to draw a basic diagram and what are the key labels that I'm looking to add to make sure I get all my marks. The second part was how to extend these to help explain how this soil forms. So this diagram can actually be used to answer 2 different brown earth soil questions.